Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for the weekly SmackDown Event Center report. And now here's the man that will bring you the happenings on WWE SmackDown every Friday night, Mr. Eric M. Lima. Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, episode 2418. This is SmackDown Event Center for July 25th, 2025. The final SmackDown for July 2025 is next week. Will be in August. And I got to tell you, the WWE did a wonderful job paying tribute to Hulk Hogan the right way and all that. Say what you want, folks, about the guy, and listen, past 10 years, let's etch those out. All right, let's scratch those past 10 years, because the past 10 years of his life, he was in major controversy. That's, it was in major controversy and all, and listen, that shows that Hulk Hogan is human. The Hulkster is human. Terry Bollea was a human being. I'm sure he regrets it, but he tried to change it, but he changed his life around for the better. And I just could not think of the final time he appeared on a WWE program was when Netflix, the premiere, and LA just basically booed him out of the building. Can't shake that, unfortunately. But they had a Hulk Hogan tribute. It was narrated by Triple H. Yeah. But a lot of folks that have been hating on Hulk Hogan, either you're fake wrestling fans or casual wrestling fans, or born after Hulk Hogan basically left wrestling. To those folks, you're never going to understand the impact that Hulk Hogan had on professional wrestling. Again, I'm going to say this. I'm going to stress this out. If it had not been for Hulk Hogan, there would be no WCW, ECW, TNA, MLW, AEW, etc. Now you would think, I'll come in and mention NWA. NWA came along before WWE, folks. Now, you may be wondering, and everybody's wondering, how come Tony Khan is not going to acknowledge Hulk Hogan or anything? Now, you got to remember, back in 2020, Linda Bollea, who was Hulk Hogan's then wife at the time before, or they have separated or broken up, I forget, said something about the looting and the stealing. I think the George Floyd situation, I think it was. And then Tony Khan said, congratulations, you just joined your husband on the ban list. Now, a lot of people are picking on Tony Khan because he's being petty and all this. One, I think Tony Khan has made a dumb decision, and I'll tell you why. One, Linda and Hulk and Terry Bollea have broken up. They got divorced. Two, Tony Khan, if it had not been for Hulk Hogan, your company would not exist. For the sole fact that wrestlers that were inspired by Hulk Hogan, one of them I would add is Matt Jackson. He said something about Hulk Hogan. If Jericho was another. And all I can say is this, those guys helped build a company. A company that is on the high rise to greatness. It had never for Hulk Hogan. Like I said, organizations like WCW wouldn't exist. ECW wouldn't exist. TNA, MLW, AEW. NWA wouldn't be able to make a big comeback either, with Billy Corgan as its figurehead. We want to see all the great wrestlers that we see today. A lot of people seem to forget that. He revolutionized the wrestling business in the 80s, and he did it again in the 90s, turning heel, forcing the WWE, the World Wrestling Federation, to step up their game. And they did. Hulk Hogan did it again. You know. People say, oh, he saved the business. No, he revolutionized it. He brought it up to a level like never before, and that was the Hulkster's deal, man. Now, say what you want about his outside the ring character and all that, you can't deny what he has done for the business. Man's gone now, and believe me, it still feels surreal to me. It still does to this day. Now, I'm not the biggest Hulk Hogan fan in the world, because I like other wrestlers besides the Hulkster himself. I've always liked, I thought Roddy Piper was one of the funniest wrestlers ever. One of my other favorite wrestlers is Bret Hart and his entire family. I thought they were great as well. Undertaker, I had a lot of respect for him. Demolition was one of my favorite tag teams now. Steiner Brothers. The Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage. You know what's even crazy is that 5 of the biggest wrestling icons from the 80s in the WWE are now all gone. Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant. Macho Man Randy Savage. The Ultimate Warrior. Roddy Piper. And now Hulk Hogan. That's unbelievable. So they did the tribute to Hulk Hogan. I thought a lot of wrestlers would be wearing red and yellow. They didn't do that, though. I know the System did last night on TNA. Basically, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, which I thought was pretty cool. So, we're in Cleveland, and Logan Paul addresses his hometown crowd using his impulsive TV talk show segment. Let's go back to SmackDown. Jelly Roll interrupts him and tells him off, and then Drew McIntyre jumps in the ring, and then Jelly Roll goes, nah, I got somebody to back me up. Randy Orton comes out, all 4 men are brawling, and Orton gets knocked off the ring. Drew McIntyre goes and punches him, and then he leaves that to Logan Paul. They're punching him. Orton comes back, attacks McIntyre. Jelly Roll fights back with a few shoulder blocks and a boss man slam. There you go. That was awesome. Then Ray Phoenix and Andrade addresses getting the tag team titles because tonight they get their title shot against the Wyatt Six. A little bit more on that matchup. And then the battle of 5 Feet of Fury. I think this is the smallest women's matchup ever. Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez. Equal in height and all. Raquel Rodriguez got involved during the matchup. Charlotte Flair evened the score, but in the end, Roxanne Perez steals the victory thanks to Raquel Rodriguez again. And then Kathy Kelly interviewed Jay Cargill. And Jay Cargill was focused on beating Tiffany Stratton to become the champion. And as she goes off, Chelsea Green and Secret Herbis come into the picture. She runs her mouth on Jay Cargill, and then she tells Secret Herbis, go get me a drink or something like that. And as Kathy Kelly interviewed Chelsea Green, she's running her mouth. Jay Cargill's right behind her as Chelsea Green's bad-mouthing Cargill. Jay Cargill punches her. They're brawling. They're going past Gorilla. They're going to the ring. Jay Cargill grabs the referee, says, come on, I want a match. And they get in the ring. They have an impromptu matchup. And Jay Cargill picks up the victory with the Jaded. Here comes the Secret Herbis, Albert Fire, and Piper Niven beating the heck out of Cargill. Tiffany Stratton, who wants Cargill at 100%, evens the score. And then Jade Cargill picked up the title. She was holding it on her shoulder. And then Tiffany Stratton says, I want my belt back. She hands it to her, and like a little tug of war in the end. And then Alexa Bliss, who suffered a nosebleed during her matchup against Roxanne Perez, Flair goes, "You're going to be all right. We're going to be okay for SummerSlam with those women's tag team titles." Now, if Alexa Bliss is not medically cleared and Charlotte Flair can't go, jump into Kabuki Warriors. That's all I'm going to say. But it looks like Alexa Bliss will be all right. Then Cody Rhodes addresses the Cleveland crowd. First, he addressed Hulk Hogan, and he basically said, "Thank you, Hulk Hogan." And and basically he addressed John Cena, saying that he'll vow to beat John Cena in that street fight. He says he wants the old John Cena. He wants the real John Cena, not the Cena he's seeing now. And you know what? We might get that in that street fight. Chicken Fatu addresses Solo Sikoa about the steel cage match and doesn't mind being locked up in a steel cage with him. All of a sudden, The Miz, after he says, he cost me 6 months. It was 6 weeks or 6 months, and I want my revenge. And then and this is my hometown, Cleveland, Ohio, he says, and he goes over to Jacob Fatu and slaps him across the face. I'm like, Miz, you just lost your mind. And he started smiling, so Miz says he went to Nick Aldis, had a match. Boy, what is wrong with you? This love child of Fire Marshal Bill and the whammy from Pressure Luck, The Miz. Okay? The kid, he ends up looking at Jacob Fatu. I'm all screwed up. Jacob Fatu, probably one of the most vicious men ever in the WWE today. One of the most vicious recent signings. He goes over and tells Mick Aldis, "You're going to have a match against me." And then he slaps Jacob Fatu. Miz is gone plum cocoa bananas. Plum loco. El crazy. Not EO Sky crazy. He gone plum loco. He was crazy as the time when he sipped up that coffee of that John Morrison gave him during the dirt sheet, and he starts going freaking nuts. And I'm like, oh boy, Miz is a dead man walking. But then, before the matchup, though, Aleister Black addresses Damian Priest, and Damian Priest responds. Jacob Fatu went one-on-one with The Miz, and Solo Sikoa and the MFTs arrived. And despite all that, Fatu won the matchup, and then Solo Sikoa and the MFTs attack Fatu, and then Jimmy Uso tried to come in. The MFTs cut him off. But, and then, so Jacob Fatu was about to injure Solo Sikoa, put the chair around Solo Sikoa's neck. Tala Tonga stopped him, and then they stood tall in the end. And then Kathy Kelly interviewed the Street Profits and B-Fab about the tag team title match tonight. And then Street Profits and B-Fab explained that, hey, they got different strategies. And then DOI and Candice LeRae, not Michelle Michael Cole, Candice LeRae interrupt them, and he started talking smack once again. And then Zelina Vega was in the hallway. She finally confronts Julia, but guess who's back? Kiana James, who will be the official representation for Julia. And then Zelina Vega calls her clipboard Karen, which I thought was pretty funny. But Kiana James, for a clipboard Karen, she looks pretty hot, don't you think? Hey. Anyways, and then Julia says she likes some confrontations. I'll see you next week. So next week they have their rematch. And then the tag team titles on the line. The Wyatt Six versus Rey Fenix and Andrade. And the Lucha Stars going out. Heck of a matchup until Nikki Cross got involved. Referee caught them. By disqualification, Rey Fenix and Andrade won. But the Wyatt Six are still the tag team champions. But then Fraction got involved. And Morrissey Machine Guns get involved. Then the Street Profits get involved attacking the Wyatt Six. Then DIY comes down with Nick Aldis. They're brawling. Nick Aldis about fed up with the whole thing. He said, you know what? I'm getting sick of this. Here's how we're going to do it. The tag team titles, those belts will be up in it because Nikki Cross is holding both of them. Will be held up high above the ring. And it'll be tables, ladders, and chairs of all the teams that are involved. That means that Wyatt Six will have to defend them against Rey Fenix and Andrade. the Motor City Machine Guns, Fraxium, the Street Profits, DIY, 6-team ladder match. Then we forgot about Los Garza. They're the AAA Tag Team Champions, so they probably got some go. But if they find out they're involved in this match, if I find out they're involved in this matchup, it's going to be nuts, folks. And then all the tag teams continue to brawl in the end. What insanity! SmackDown started off as a very somber occasion, obviously, but then it ended in chaos, with all those 6 tag teams brawling each other for the tag team titles. Nick Aldis, you are the man for making this match a TLC match for the belts at SummerSlam. Let's go. Let's go. Also, Karrion Kross is going to be on a PLE. SummerSlam, he's going to be facing Sami Zayn once again in the matchup. I wonder what Scarlett's wearing or not wearing at this rate. It's SummerSlam. You got to look hot. It's going to be hot in Jersey, probably. I don't know. All I say is Karrion Kross, you're the man having Scarlett. I'm telling you. Anyways, that's all the time we have on the show. And I'll be making a late night visit to David 3000 Network later tonight. We're going to play some Card Sharks. We'll see how well I do there. So, I will see you guys later. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. And until the next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home, brother. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.